I know a lot of you guys have been waiting for this video, so finally here it is. We're doing the part 2 of the Art Pro VLA II tube swap. We changed the Chinese tubes out with Electro-harmonix tubes, and we recorded some different settings of a couple different audio loops and styles of music, and we're going to be doing the comparison A-B. So without further ado, let's cue the intro. Alright guys, what is up? Welcome to the channel. For those of you that are new here, my name is Killian, aka Nailik. You're watching Claritone Audio, and in today's video, from the title you can tell, we're going to be doing the A-B testing of the Art Pro VLA II after I've changed the tubes, comparing it to the stock tubes, which are cheaper Chinese tubes that come in the unit. Lots of news firstly for the channel. I've set up my Patreon for those of you that would like to support the channel. I'm going to be posting my links down below. And I just want to say I'm sorry for the delay on this video. The reason it kind of took so long was I was building my new desk, so I didn't have anything wired in. And then in that time, I actually got a new audio interface. So the old Chinese tubes, I had recorded them with my last interface. So I wanted to swap the tubes back out, record the tests, and then do the tube swap again and re-record the tests all through the same interface so that it is the fairest comparison possible. And so basically what we're going to do is we'll listen to the Chinese tubes, then we'll go over to the Electro-harmonix tubes, and we'll do a back and forth of a couple different settings. I have 4 different settings and, you know, various loops and styles of music that we're going to be comparing it to. And then what we're going to do at the end is we're actually going to do a null test so that we can hear the real differences between the pair of tubes. So if you have 2 of the exact same audio files and you invert the polarity or flip the phase on one of the tracks, you should be left with complete silence. So in the case of the 2 tube tests, what we do is we're going to flip the phase, and anything that's left over is going to be the difference between the 2 sound. So we're going to be actually able to hear what does the new set of tubes add, if anything, to the sound. So I'm going to hop into Cubase here. We'll start looking at these audio files, and I'll just explain how I've set everything up first. Alright guys, so here we are, and we have a couple different takes here. The blue is the Chinese tubes, the original tubes, and the orange tubes, the orange recording, sorry, is the Electro-harmonix tubes that we're going to be listening to. So the first test that we have is a 4:1 ratio with a 12 millisecond attack and a 0.3 second release. I'm gonna let it play once through, and then the second time that it loops around, I'm gonna actually just switch into the Electro-harmonix tubes. That way we can get a good idea of the difference in tone and everything else. So how I set this up is I took these takes and I did some normalization. So I go into Process, Normalize, and I actually did loudness normalization. So when we do the null testing, if we have to adjust the volume a little bit to get maximum cancellation, then we'll know that it was a little bit off. But it should be pretty spot on and definitely in the right ballpark range for us to just do a quick A/B test listening to the 2. So let's get to this first test here. Interesting. So that's basically how I'm going to do the test every time. Once you see the orange track with the little red solo button on, it means that's the track that we're listening to, and it'll just flip between the 2. So I'm going to go fully into this Cubase session here, and we'll continue listening to these examples. Okay, so we're going to go to the next loop, continuing to listen to the Chinese tubes first, then switching to the Electro-harmonix. What we'll do for this example is we'll continue listening to them at the same place, but we'll just switch over to the next set of recordings. So this one is a 4:1 ratio with a 25 millisecond attack and still a 0.3 second release.
This is the time, this is the right place for higher emotion. I make you mine. This is the time, this is the right place for higher emotion. I make you mine. This is the time, this is the right place for higher emotion. I make you mine. This is the time, this is the right place.
Alright guys, so are you kind of hearing a little bit of a difference between the two? For me it sounds like the Electro-harmonix tubes maybe are a little bit warmer, you could say, because they have a little bit less high end to me. The bass sounds a little bit tighter and maybe like it has a slightly different behavior or character. But it also sounds like there's, at the beginning of every word, there might be a little bit more attack, like a little bit more bite. I noticed it on some of the vocals, so let's go back and listen to the Chinese ones and listen to the beginning of each word when we switch back and forth.
This is the time, this is the right place for higher emotion. This is the time, this is the right place for higher emotion. This is the time, this is the right place for higher emotion. This is the time, this is the right place for higher emotion. This is the time, this is the right place. The time, this is 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 the time.
So it's really subtle, but I am hearing a small difference between that. So let's just continue listening to the examples through another set of recordings with different settings. This one is 50 milliseconds attack with a 3-second release time, and I believe it's still 4:1 ratio. Yeah. So we'll just go over to this last example here. Let's go back over to the beginning. We'll listen to this other loop here. In this last set of recordings, we actually have limiting, so it's 20:1 ratio with 25 millisecond attack and 0.6 second release. Okay, so now let's hear the real differences without any, um, any debate here. We're just going to do a null test, and whatever's left is going to be the real differences between the tubes. If I flip the phase and it's not perfectly cancelled, when I adjust the volume a little bit, we might find a spot with a little bit more cancellation. So we'll just kind of play around with it, and we'll see where we get the most cancellation. So if I let it play, right now they're both in solo. The volume will be plus 6 dB. It's going to be twice, well, not twice as loud, but twice the energy, so it's going to be louder. And when I flip the phase, we should have complete silence if they're the exact same. So at unity gain on the fader, I am getting the maximum cancellation, so my loudness normalization worked. Whatever is left is super, super low in volume. So how much you would hear that in the end result is debatable. But what I will do is I'll just put I have a limiter on the master channel here that's ready to go. So I'm just going to increase the gain so we can really hear what's left super low down there in volume. So we can see we only have these like spiky transients or these peaks that are popping through. So that seems to be one of the main differences, is maybe the attack is a little bit, it's not much that's left over when we do the null test. So there isn't a huge difference in the sound of the unit based off changing the tubes. Let's go to another example here. Actually, we'll just switch to one of the 4-to-1 examples as well. Again, we'll flip the phase. Let's go to the vocals. I think this is the vocals here.
This is the time, this is the...
I'm just going to try and re-loudness match them just to see if it changes anything.
This is the time, this is the right place for higher emotion. I make you mine. This is the right place for love and devotion. Oh. This is the time, this...
Alright guys, so that about wraps up the Pro VLA II comparison video, doing the ABs and also running a quick little null test. I know the test probably isn't the perfect test, but I did my best and I tried to limit as many of the variables as possible. And the null test was just an extra little thing I thought of doing at the end because it's, I'm sure in the comments everybody's going to be saying, oh, I prefer this one, I prefer that one. So I'll leave it up to you whether you find it worthwhile to go ahead and change the tubes in one of the cheapest compressors that's available. Does it add something? Possibly a little tiny bit. Is it going to make it a great compressor? No. Why? Because the output, the tubes are actually in the output stage, and don't have a huge bearing on the actual sound of the unit. So you can change the tubes, but it's not going to suddenly make your compressor into a $1,500 compressor, for example. So let me know what you think down below, guys. I'm really curious to hear if you guys are still going to be going ahead and doing the tube swap after watching this video, or if you guys changed it to a different brand of tubes and you had a different result, possibly worse, maybe more difference than this. Have you guys run a null test? I'm curious, because I haven't seen this video or this type of video on the Pro VLA II, which is kind of why I decided to make it with the null test and everything, to really hear the differences. Alright guys, that about wraps it up for today's video. Please be sure to like and subscribe if you found this video useful, or if you just want to see more content like this on a regular basis. I'll be posting some new hardware comparison tests. I got a new compressor that's in the $1,500 range, so maybe we'll compare that to the Pro VLA II and see what happens when you spend a little bit more money on something that would be considered a professional level compressor. So I'll see you guys in the next one. Cheers.